Woburn. I'm your host, Samantha Stone, and I'm excited to be here. We've got our second episode taped here in the office. You can see I'm starting to get settled. There's a big chocolate chip cookie here that someone brought in and supplies. So it's a little messy. My apologies, but we're glad to be here. Welcome, Mike.
Hi, Samantha. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be chatting. So winter is, upon us full force these days. And that means we've had to deal with snow and ice and all the usual things that hit New England and hit Woburn. And one of the things that a lot of people have started to ask about is the obligations around sidewalks. This actually comes up every year. I think if we go back about a year and every today in Woburn for the last 4 years, it comes up and it's a really common question. And I think it's a fair question because it's a little bit confusing about who's responsible to clean sidewalks and such. So I thought we could tackle it.
Sure.
Excellent.
So you're right. There is a little bit of confusion around that topic. And, essentially, I'd like to think that we approach the issue of snow and ice just as a community, trying to do the best we can to make sure that we're clearing the path for vehicles and pedestrians and, kids walking to school and folks walking their children in carriages. And I think as a community, we do a really good job of making sure that things are clear. Obviously, we live in New England. We've got a whole lot of storms. We have a range of temperatures. We have snow, sleet, and rain all in a day or a week. Things can freeze over. But all in all, I think, I know that we do a very good job of staying on top of it. Obviously, it all starts with the great work done by our folks down at the DPW. They're right on top of this stuff. They're watching the latest forecasts. They're planning, they're meeting. We meet in here in the office in the event of a big storm. And then they get out and they do the work between the DPW team and the outside private contractors. I would put Woburn's efforts in terms of snow removal right up at the top, second to none. So the particular question about the responsibility of snow and ice on sidewalks, there is a section in the ordinance that talks about it. It doesn't cover the entire city because I think there is that assumption that, people will step up and try to make sure that the area around their homes, the sidewalk in front of the house is cleared. So the ordinance speaks directly to essentially the downtown area. And the expectation is that the property owner in the downtown area will, as soon as they can after the end of a storm, take care of the snow and the ice that's in front of their property, the sidewalk in front of their property. And again, all in all, I'd say that those property owners, they do a very good job. In reading the ordinance and I've been catching up on a lot of the obligations and responsibilities of city government over the last several months, but certainly several weeks. I can tell you that the ordinance is a little bit outdated. It's a little bit clunky. It's not terribly easy to understand. So that's something I'll talk with the city council about, maybe clearing up some of that ordinance, make it a little more user-friendly and understandable. But generally speaking, the obligation would be in the downtown area for the property owners to clean up the snow and ice. They would be subject to a fine if the determination was made that they hadn't been fulfilling that obligation. But historically, we don't do that. We work in a cooperative way to try to ask those people to take care of their property. So again, all in all, I think we do a good job. There's always room for improvement. And when it comes to the language in the ordinance, I think that's something we can tighten up and make it a little more understandable.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And I think that's a fair point, which is why it continually comes up sort of year after year. The other thing that I would say is, while we as a city are not obligated to clear sidewalks sort of outside the city properties in downtown areas, we actually clear quite a lot of sidewalks in addition to that,
Right.
trying to be good citizens. And I think that sometimes confuses folks. I think sometimes we get into habit, we've been doing it for a really long time,
Yep.
but we're not really staffed and equipped to do the greatest job at doing it as fast as people would like, and as many places as perhaps we would all like to be able to.
Yeah.
So do you see, just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the extras that we do and how we go about that.
Sure. Mostly you'll see the sidewalk plows in the areas of the schools. The neighborhoods surrounding the elementary schools, the main pathways and, sidewalks along the main roads. That's where we spend the bulk of our time in the aftermath of a storm. So the neighbors in that area will see the sidewalk plows out clearing those areas. And perhaps they wonder, why doesn't that sidewalk plow take a quick, right turn down into my neighborhood and do my street? To your point, there's only so many of those, and there's so many miles, 200 miles of streets in the city. It's just not practical to expect that the city of Woburn could clear every sidewalk in the city, in any reasonable amount of time, and the cost would be significant. So the main focus on sidewalks would be the main pathways in the neighborhoods around our schools.
A couple other things I'll just mention for folks. I know it's frustrating when you've cleared your driveway and the sidewalk plow comes by, if it is a street that they're doing, and snow gets in your driveway. It happens. And we just ask for understanding and a little bit of patience with that. I know that can seem a little bit frustrating, but it's the only way they can reasonably do it is with equipment. They can't hand shovel what needs to be done. So, I think the net of this is we can it's going to look like we're going to look at some of the language to make it clarify. We do appreciate when people call in and let us know if there's an area that hasn't been well treated. Sometimes we miss things. Sometimes things we treated get worse as a storm changes or progresses, or it gets warmer and things start to melt and freeze up again. So continue to let us know about that. But also, just do our best. If you can clear the sidewalk in front of your home, please do. It helps all of us as best we can.
And to your point, folks should be assured, the plows are not intentionally trying to put the snow there. There's only so much they can do. I think we have a great team who, they care about the residents here. They're not trying to make their lives more difficult. They're trying to make them easier. Sometimes it does feel like that when the plow comes by, but that's not their intention at all, obviously. And, everyone is working together to get rid of the snow as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And I know what I'm about to say is not universal. There are streets that are less traveled that perhaps don't have this experience, but in general, when we travel from Woburn to surrounding towns after a big storm, our major roadways are in really good shape. And we get a lot of people who have sent in messages and noticed the difference. And we know how hard that is, not just for our own crew, but also all the contractors that come in and help us. And unfortunately, often that's a lot of hours, overnights and the next days and all of that. So we thank everyone, residents, businesses, and the team who help us do that.
And to your point, we do get feedback, as you know, being here in the office now. We get a lot of positive feedback, which is nice. People praising the efforts of our team. We appreciate that. And we also do get some feedback where there's some areas, where maybe we could improve. And we do encourage people to reach out. The best way is through the city website, through the report a concern tab, which triggers, as you know, a process, the Q alert process. And every one of those is read. I can assure people that I'm seeing them all. I get an email on all those Q alerts. I read them, and I'm impressed at the timeliness of the response on behalf of the city. So those concerns, they're heard and they're responded to. We take them seriously, and that is the best mechanism to get those concerns to our attention. Obviously, in the event of an emergency, 911 is always the best and quickest option, and that's the way to go. But if there's a concern about, a snowbank at the end of the road that maybe needs to be taken down a foot or two, reporting a concern on the city website tab is the best approach.
It really does get routed. I've been impressed. I see them also, and I see the responses when they get updated or closed or ticketed. And we're not perfect and we make mistakes. So please let us know when we need to readdress something. So I'm glad that we have that mechanism. Before we leave winter doldrums, and I promise we'll leave winter doldrums soon, one of the other things that has happened this winter in particular, because we had rain and snow and warming and then ice. But we had a lot of snow melting with that rain and the warmer temperatures initially. Is there's some flooding in yards and things. And when that happens, we often will get inquiries saying, I've got water in my yard. What do I do? How can you help me? And sometimes the city is helpful in that, and sometimes it's not something that we can adjust. But I thought we've had enough of those requests come in. It'd be great, Mike, to talk a little bit about how we go about assessing if it's something the city can help with or not, and what our role is.
Certainly. And again, in a non-emergency situation, and I know that oftentimes, these feel like a real emergency when the water is, building in your backyard. You have every right to be concerned. And I guess I would say if the water is entering your house and it's posing a threat, perhaps to your oil burner or your gas burner, by all means, the city is available to assist in those cases, the fire department, the police department. In an emergency like that, certainly reach out 911, and we will do what we can to help address those issues to prevent a larger issue. In the other cases, as I said, the report a concern tab, the Q alert. I want people to understand that it's not just sending a message that someone reads a week later. It is real time, and we are monitoring it, and we are trying to address them as quick as we can. And concerns like that should be funneled through that process. To your point, the last 2 weeks, we've had a lot of rain and a lot of flooding. And what I've been trying to do, and this is a team effort with the DPW superintendent and his team, the city engineer and his team, and obviously our office here, we're trying to assess the nature of the problem. The reality is, if it's a situation that involves completely a private matter, there's only so much the city can do to get involved in that. Again, we're talking about using city resources, city equipment, city manpower, city dollars, and we have to do that wisely and, of course, legally. And there are boundaries on how we can spend the people's money. So we do assess those problems as they come in, and we try to determine what is the city's role in this problem. Did we create a situation? Did we make a situation worse? And if so, what's our responsibility to resolve that situation? There are sometimes instances where it's a jump ball, or maybe it's a gray area. We're not exactly certain. So what we've tried to do is do what we can to mitigate the situation and try to perform some sort of investigation to better understand what's really going on, whose responsibility it is, and or is there something the city can do to make the situation better without incurring significant cost or expending time, effort, and money that we shouldn't be. And that's the process we've been going through, certainly in the last few weeks, and I'm sure prior to that. I do sympathize. I've had water in my basement in the past, and I know it can be stressful. So again, in the event of an emergency where it's threatening the burner or something, by all means, let us know. In those other instances, report the concern. We'll do an investigation. At the end of it, sometimes the answer is, we're sorry, but there isn't anything, or there's very little we can do to resolve your issue. We have experts here in the city team who can maybe steer you towards somebody who can help, provide some information that you can share with those private entities that are going to resolve your problem. But we would not be able to get out there and use our team, our equipment, or our dollars to solve your problem, unfortunately.
Thank you for that update. And as I promised, we're not going to talk about bad weather anymore. In fact, we're going to switch gears and talk about open space and recreation. On the city website this week, I believe, if not the very end of last week, we talked about the state approving our multi-year recreation open space plan. And it is a significant and very thoughtful plan that covers a whole bunch of things. And while that plan is available online and folks who are interested should go and peruse the details. I thought we could summarize a little bit about some of the things that are priorities there and how we are approaching creating an environment that we can enjoy. And sometimes in the winter, there's lots of things that we can do outside in the winter, but largely in the spring and summertime and fall when we've got lots of people outside quite a bit.
Sure. So as you said, the open space and recreation plan was developed over a period of time with community input, guidance from various entities, regional, statewide, and the product is on the city website now. It's a comprehensive plan that lays out our goals going forward as a community, in the areas of open space and recreation. And the idea behind this is the roadmap going forward on things we would like to do, things we consider priorities, and of course things that we would use in the form of grant applications to try to receive state or federal or in some cases private money to make these ideas become a reality. So there are several goals that you'll see listed on the website in the plan. And they're probably not all that surprising. They're what you might expect. But three main goals. One is to provide active and passive recreational opportunities for all residents. And under that heading, we had several ideas. Some are in the works, some are in design and yet to be put in practice yet. But some of the goals, some of the projects included the spray park at Green Street Pool in the works, converting the Plimpton School to passive recreation, which is great news. The building is down, and the goal is to give to that neighborhood the type of low-key passive park that they've been asking for. Perhaps another dog park. We have one up in North Woburn where we're looking at other opportunities because we know that that's needed and valued by our residents, two-legged and four-legged. Another goal would be to create a walking trailer path in Whispering Hill Woods. And last is the ambitious goal of the Woburn Bikeway extending from Ferullo Field down to Library Park. This is an example of a state mass trails grant that this is in design. And we are again seeking public input. There's going to be some public outreach community meetings later this winter, spring, where we hope to gather feedback from the neighbors and the city at large, what they would like to see there. So that's goal number one, the active and passive recreational opportunities. Second one is managing the existing recreation conservation lands, which is what it sounds like. We're developing projects and improvements to some of those currently existing entities. Obviously focusing on the most highly traveled and most used spaces. A big part of that would be the ADA compliance and upgrades to make it accessible for everybody in the city, which is clearly a goal. And then the last of the three significant goals is protecting our natural resources. We have two pretty big projects currently underway in design and heading towards reality very soon. We had a meeting last week with the consultants on this. I was brought up to speed. I had Jay Duran and Jay Corey both with us, and Charlie Doherty, the auditor, was in the room just to get an update. The first is the Hurled Climate Resilient Park, which is a huge project. It's going to have a tremendous impact. It's going to solve a lot of our problems, hopefully, or address some of the issues in terms of the water flow and creating a natural habitat in that area where there once, or still is, but soon will no longer be a school building. And there's also a park area. And then the other big project is the Horn Pond Fish Passageway. Both of these I know are huge priorities of City Council President, Ward 3 Councilor Jeff Dillon. And I believe I know that they have the support of the entire council. So that would be, goal number 3 is protecting those natural resources, which, we all value greatly and want to see protected. So there's more data and much more information in the plan that's posted on the website, and I would encourage folks to go look at it, take a look. I think they'd be excited to see that we have a solid, approved plan that lays out the roadmap for the next several years. And I'm pretty excited about it. I think people are going to see tangible results and be happy with them.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think it's a really wonderful, there's a lot of things happening in the city in terms of improving recreation or quality of life and access to things. And I perused the report. I initially opened it thinking, oh, I'll be able to sort of skim read it in a few minutes, and realize how much work has gone into that. And definitely there'll be continued community input on most of those projects as they start to become reality and progress to plan. So thanks for that summary. I appreciate it.
And that's a great example of the work that's being done here and the teamwork. This was a product of most of our departments. Obviously, engineering and recreation played a huge role in developing this plan, but they also sought the input of so many of the other departments in city government, as well as concerned community groups and neighbors. It's a great product of the teamwork that exists in the city, and I think you're seeing these tangible results of that teamwork. And I think folks should be proud and very excited at what's happening and what's to come.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it, Mike.
Certainly. Thank you, Samantha.
Excellent. Next up, I'm excited to have Megan Kass with us from the library to talk about a special program that's happening.
Hi, Samantha. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yes, welcome. There is a really interesting program that's happening in February that is Opera in, I'm going to get the name right, Opera in Ebony. Please correct me if I misspoke. Tell us about that program.
Yeah, so Opera in Ebony, it's a tribute to African-American singers. It's a Black History Month special. We're actually having a professional opera singer and a librarian from New York travel up here. She's going to give an in-person educational lecture about different African-American singers who have been involved in the opera industry. And she's also going to give a live performance. She's going to talk about, so she's going to show clips from previous opera singers, including Marian Anderson, Leontyne Price, Paul Robeson, and George Shirley. And all these singers, they performed at the New York Met, they performed in La Scala in Milan, Italy, they performed at the Royal Opera House in London. And we really want to highlight some of these singers that not nearly enough people know about and show some of the works that they do.
I think it's incredible. And I have to admit, I really know very little about opera, but it is an amazing form of music, and the talent that it takes to do that is incredible. So even if you don't know much about it, that might be the perfect reason to come and experience opera in our own library and the beautiful setting that we have there. Now, Tanisha Mitchell, is that how you pronounce her name? I find it fascinating that she is both an opera singer and a librarian. I think that's wonderful. Tell us a little bit more about her.
Yeah, you're going to find a lot of librarians are multi-talented. And so Tanisha started her career in the opera industry, but then worked her way into libraries. And as she was doing programs in libraries, she was seeing the different types of programs that people attended. She's like, oh my God, this is such a great audience. I have to tell them more about the different things that are going on in opera and the different people who are in it. And so she started with one show, one tour. And it caught on, so she kept going and keep going. She's got 27 different shows that she gives now. So you can bet we're going to be seeing her again. She's really talented. There's Library Journal, which is one of the top publications in the library industry, recognized her as a mover and shaker. So we are really lucky that she's coming here.
That's fantastic. Now tell us the day and time, all the logistics about when this is happening.
Yes, absolutely. So that's going to be the first Saturday in February. So that's February 3rd. It's going to be from 2 to 3 p.m. We ask people if they could register on our website that they're coming, just that way we know how many chairs to put out. But if you don't register, that's fine. We'd still love to have you. So please come.
That's excellent. Where in the library will it be hosted?
Most likely it's going to be in the program room, but if enough people tell us that they want to come, we'll move it to the fireplace area and get a nice dramatic effect.
Ooh, I love that with the background. Either way, I think this sounds like a wonderful program and a great way to introduce yourself to and your family to if you haven't, or if you are an opera fan. It's not often that we have that talent right in our own library, so it'll be fun to do. While I have you, before I let you go, any other programming coming up that you just want to give a shout out to?
Absolutely. We got one other program coming up for Black History Month. It's more locally based. So this is about the 7 Black jockey brothers of Lynn, Massachusetts. So that's going to be on Tuesday, February 20th at 6 o'clock. So that focuses on a family of brothers who were jockeys. And so something I learned about is that the equestrian industry was really dominated by Black professionals right up until the early 1900s with the Jim Crow laws. So there's a lot more about how they were in that industry, and some local families were involved as well. So we're going to learn a lot more about that. I'm excited about that. And
fantastic.
And unrelated to Black History Month, but I wanted to give a shout out to 2 local business owners in Woburn who are volunteering their time to offer programming here. So I wanted to give a shout out to Ivy Chen, who is a licensed acupuncturist and Chinese herbalist. She has a business, Meta Lotus Acupuncture and Herbs, right here in Woburn. So tonight she's giving the first of 3 talks about traditional Chinese medicine. And so I think it's going to be a really great program. And also we have local business owner Anne-Marie Laurendo, who is a professional makeup artist and esthetician. And she's giving monthly makeup demonstrations and Q&As here at the library for anyone who wants to learn more about that. And the 2 very talented professionals, and we're lucky to have them here.
That sounds really interesting. I think I learned to do my makeup in 1980 something, and that's enough said. I probably should show up to the makeup tutorial. My aunt Kathy, who I adored and was about 11 years older than me, she was much younger than my mom, and I just thought she was the best thing ever. She taught me to do my makeup, and I never learned anything since. So
yeah, come for a refresher.
I could definitely use it. That's wonderful. Thank you for spotlighting that. And if you haven't looked lately, please go look at the program calendar at the library. There's so much that happens there for all different kinds of interests and age groups and community members. We're really lucky to have not just a beautiful building, but a really hardworking staff that brings us a ton of great free programs. I mean, these are really wonderful things that we don't have to pay for. So that's always valued and appreciated. Thank you both for joining us. And as always, Woburn, please continue to take good care of each other.